grandma has this dress.
No, neither.
I feel like Harry Potter. Too librarian. Too Bono?
No.
No. No. Big no.
Yes.
I look a little bit like a bumblebee. How long you been in these parts?
Bah, if sadness had a color. I bought this? Your Honor, I object.
No. This is so much like my dad.
That is the ticket.
Support for kQED Live comes from Berkeley Rep and the San Francisco Symphony.
Disproportionate impact of
more than half of black business owners
and disproportionate.
Somehow we always find a way to rise.
To the blueprint builders, to the backbones of every block, for the curators of the culture, and for generations to follow. You might fall, but never fail. Keep rising, keep rising, keep rising. Apply for business, marketing, and tech makeovers on us.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to kQED. How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you for coming out. I'm so happy to see you here. My name is Lance Gardner. I'm a producer with kQED Live. kQED Live is the events arm of kQED Public Media, and we put on all kinds of exciting, interesting, and informative shows for you here at 2601 Mariposa in San Francisco and online at youtube.com/kQED Live. You can find everything that we have upcoming at kqed.org/live. And nothing that we do would be possible without our season sponsors. We have 4 amazing season sponsors that I would like to thank. They are Asian Art Museum, Berkeley Rep, Comcast Business, and the SF Symphony. Let's have a round of applause for our sponsors, please. Now, with their sponsorship, we are able to do many amazing things, but I want to tell you about just 2 of them that are upcoming. The first one is something that we're calling kQED Fest. It is an amazing open house that we're holding here at 2601 Mariposa. We're going to have the street shut down outside. It'll be like a block party with a stage, a music stage by Noise Pop, and we'll have activities inside. You'll get to meet kQED personalities. It's free. You can register online, and we would love to see you here for that. The second thing I'd like to plug while I'm up here is something else I'm producing, and that is a celebration of the release of a book from our podcast, Bay Curious. Here's that book right here in my hand, an advanced copy, and you can see all those tape flags in there. Those are the stories that we've chosen to represent on stage with music, interview, food, performance. It'll be amazing. We still have a few tickets available for that. Please go online, kqed.org/live, and get your ticket today. The next thing I would like to talk to you about, this is very important, so please, if you've been ignoring me up until now, listen. You all have headphones that you have found on your seats, and I just want to talk to you about how to use these. So on these headphones, you will see 2 yellow switches. Please don't touch the yellow switches. Just leave the headphones on and leave them on the channel to which they are set. And then on the other side, opposite one of the yellow switches, you will find a volume knob. If it goes up, you're turning the volume down. If it goes down, you turn the volume up. It's counterintuitive, I know. That's why I'm explaining it to you. And don't put your headphones on just yet. We're going to go ahead and play something for you. Mike, you can go ahead and roll that. Thank you. Okay, now you can put your headphones on and adjust the volume to your liking, please. If you're watching at home and you happen to be wearing headphones, please also adjust your volume. But I imagine you've been doing that this whole time. Okay, once your volume is at a comfortable position, leave those accessible to yourself. We will be using them. You will get instructions about when to put them on. It won't be difficult. I trust you all. All right. And lastly, we have something special for you tonight. A giveaway. We'd like to give some kQED merch to a very special person in the building. So I want you all now to reach underneath your seats. If there's a cassette tape taped to the bottom of your seat, you are the lucky winner of whatever we have for you today. Lift it up. There you go. All right, right here. Congratulations. Please enjoy that kQED Fest merch. All right, now it's time to get the show started. I would like to introduce to you Bay Area Theater Cypher. Yeah. Let's give it up for them.
Yeah.
1, 2.
1, 2.
San Francisco,
1, 2.
how's everybody doing tonight? You doing well? All right. We are the Bay Area Theater Cypher. We're here to warm it up a little bit and just break down this fourth wall a little bit. And to show you that we're really freestyling up here, we need 4 words from you all. I think Lance has got the mic here. So raise your hand if you have a word for us. It can be within the self-help world if you like. You know, we want to keep it on theme.
Love.
That was love.
Okay, I got love. Okay.
All right. We got love.
Apothecary.
Apothecary. I'll take that one.
Self-actualization.
Self-actualization, okay. Stay. Self-actualization, okay.
Synergy.
And synergy.
Synergy. So I got apothecary and I got synergy.
I got love and self-actualization.
All right.
That's going to be self-actualization.
Let's
all right, cool. Let's go.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Check, 1, 2.
We're the Bay Area Theater Cypher.
Yeah.
We live on that crossroads of hip-hop music, a little bit of activism, a little bit of theater making. 1, 2.
1, 2. Yo,
yes.
Let's get some energy in the room. Throw your hands up, make some love. Let's go, yo. Hey, check, yeah. Hey, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hey, yo, is this thing on? Is it dubbed? I guess I'm old school like this radio does. For real, you know how I gotta give it up. Throw a W up, cause it's all about the love.
Yes. On the microphone, this is a friend of me. Give me a little bit more of your energy. Because the microphone and use dependency, and when we come together, it's synergy.
Pass it around and crash the station. And yo, look in the mirror for self-actualization. That word was just a little bit to get out. I grabbed the microphone and go ahead. Somebody better get out.
I stand up here, stand in front of thee. I've got the nerds inside, so I need to hit my apothecary. Oh, because yesterday's the flow. I think 420 passed us by, you know.
Oh, but now it's 421, and that's my birthday. We getting it done. I'm going so dumb. I represent for sure. I'm like DMC. I'm making MCs run. Let's get it going like.
My name is D. Add the A and the N. I grab the microphone and stand on stage. I have no plan, but what I gotta do is be myself, actualized man, and always reaching for something that's just out of hand.
Out of hand, and I guess I'm in the head zone. I'm about to light this place up just like your headphones. So everybody right now, throw your hands to the sky. I rep the 510, the 415.
And I could try just to straight up stay alive. Peace out, making love to kQED Live. If you're at home, but right now we're in the room, and don't be doing that because I want to see you. This isn't Zoom.
This isn't Zoom. Are you there? Are you there? Are you frozen? Are you stuck in the air? Somebody somewhere, we better be prepared, because every time we get hyper, it's the Bay Area Theater Cypher. Like
the Professor Hot Dog is in the mix. Throw up your hand so I can see you pump your fist. Oh, I came to this is the rush. Yes, it's the ofrenda of Brenda and Josh.
Brenda and Josh about to put it down. Josh is a clown. No, he's actually a clown. Hey, yo, for real, we pass it around and make it just bump. There's people saying, what up? Now throw it up like...
Throw it up, yes. On stage, I never chill, but I'm like to be more confident like my man Phil. Yes, and get right the microphone and get free. When you grow up, children, please live close to me.
It's not fair. Here's a message from everyone to Claire. It goes like this: I have to hang with this and get better at my anger management. Damn, I'm getting nice on the phone, getting nice with the microphone. I'm off the zone. Somebody leave me alone. I'm seeing everybody in their chairs. Yo, I'll kick it like a flare. And thank God I'm here with no hair.
No hair and shaved head. Peace out to anybody who is watching this right now from your bed, because we're online. I'm on rhyme, I'm on time with my freestyle off the top of my mind. And if you're a little confused, don't get pissed. We've got a little bit of your input here on this list. One thing tells us something you have trouble with, and the other thing is something you're fighting for some confidence with. So that's what I gotta do. Don't just stare. I'm kind of angry, need anger management like Claire. That's what I'm saying, displaying the way I'm. Open up my self-help tape so I can display them.
If it's a self-help, then I've got to listen. Just like Mary, I'm trying to embrace more optimism. You see, it's like this. Yo, I got the prism, so you can see it in your face. Yo, a lot to hit them with, every zone and the place to be. I'm just a true definition of a real MC. Thank you for showing up and yo, making it go. Everybody knows we busting that flow. Tell them why, bro.
My ability to stay more mindfully engaged in the present moment and love more than without the rage and have some more wholeheartedly as a result. Put it together, this is the words that I came to quote. Peace out to Tara, wish you could be Farah. Wish you could live somewhere that was more clean and self and hasty and healthy in every way. Don't debate me because California is the state to be in.
State, man, I'm top notch. I got a message from everyone from Professor Hot Dog. That's actually a name. Yo, for real, I'm going insane. I would love to not chemically reduce my anxiety or non-chemically not use pills to start fighting me. You see, I struggle with the words, but I'm still superb. That's why back in the day, they called me a rap nerd.
Back in the day, they said that therapy was overrated. But I wish I could be more patient and less frustrated and more transient. Be at home and live the way I could be without going place to place, and I could see the face to face that I'll be living in. Always giving what I'm giving with my heart, it is the position in. To be fly, do or die, stay alive. I can feel you. This one goes out to Eli. Don't you try.
Eli, right now I'm strong like Hulk Hogan. I'm not trying to spread misinformation. This ain't Joe Rogan. This is y'all to see the spot and make it for real, man, and make the beat drop like. Congratulations, you have rhythm. That's good, that's good. All right, y'all, we're gonna give you one last one.
Yes, yes. Shout out to everybody who was willing to give us a little bit of themselves to put on stage tonight. You know who you are. That's really brave. That's really nice that you could give us a little piece so we could share with everybody. Because you never know when somebody is fighting through the same thing that you're fighting through. You know what I mean? Yes, 1, 2. Here for creative visualization. Open up upon this nation. Grab a microphone and just speaking from my station. That's my point in life. And I got love for my wife because it's her birthday too. Yes, you know how we do.
Yeah, right up in the station. Speaking of creative visualization, what about sensory deprivation? That's a lot of words to get out. I still gotta get the microphone in the head out. But yo, I'm going wild. I'm just trying to speak to my inner child and stay with my style. I'm going so wild. I make them smile and go wild for all my people right now in the place of wow.
You know how we do. I like Gangstar, that's DJ Premier and Guru. But that's not the guru that I think that you knew. Gotta say Om Nashta Shavante so we can raise to you.
Trying to get out every damn word and also stay in touch with the ethical standard. Yo, you gotta love it when we up in the place. We bumping it for real, make it bump right up in your face. It goes bass.
Bass, how low can you go? Grab the microphone, my mind is open. Where I go, I don't know. Where I land, it's the plan, and that's the zing. Because I'm standing on stage, deprogramming.
You're looking at a tough vato who's about to go over to the mission, needed a lot of tacos. Yo, and after that, maybe dinner with some sour cream. It's not my fault, we a two-man power team.
I'm with you. Yo, together we're a faction, because when you think of tacos, that's the laws of attraction. We come together, that's the yin to yang, that's the plus to the minus. AC/DC is my gang.
Yeah, I heard this nation. Thank you for giving my Mexican side some affirmations. Yo, it's all good and some calculations. Go ahead, you can laugh and smile, damn, we about the nation.
I do not dance, I do not do the jerk, I do not stand on stage, I do not put in work. Yes, I put it together and open up my mind so I could do some holy heliotropic breath work.
Speaking of breath work, my beatbox make your neck work for real, and now we about to network. That's just a lot of words that you never heard before. Go ahead and make it rap, go ahead like Rappaport.
Throw up your hands if you're feeling me. Follow me on this path with this guided imagery. I'll take you there. It's the way that you can flow when you breathe in and out. We call that breath control.
Breath control, yeah, and I'm just joshing. I'm trying to trick you with some brainwashing. Yo, go ahead and wash when we tossing. I'm like really awesome. The only creek you ever crossed was Dawson's. My mom crossed a lot to get me here so you can see that I'm flossing. Big time from here to Austin. Let's go ahead and say some more, man. It's like pheromones. Get the
heck up. Throw your hands up, you can rub them up. Yes, I'm seeming. I'm straight up kind of dreaming. My lucid mind, my lucid heart, my lucid mind. I put together all these lucid words and lucid rhymes.
Here's in your section. I don't think that we should think about astral projection, but I'ma still shine like my mind's in the stars, and I'm ripping these bars from here to Mars.
We are the Bay Area Theater
Thank
Cypher.
you very
Make
much.
some noise.
Peace, y'all.
Thank you for having us. Enjoy
Let's
the show.
go. Peace.
And now, straight from New York City, Simon Adler!
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. While you're at it, why don't you all go ahead and just thank yourselves? Because you all made the choice to be here tonight. You all made the choice that you were going to be the best versions of yourself you could be, and you are all here, I think, to make that happen. I am convinced that tonight we are going to realize each and every one of your unlimited potentials. No, we're not going to do any of that. We're not going to do any of that. What about instead I just sort of do what we do, which is just tell some stories? Is that okay? Maybe they'll make you reach some new level of self-actualization, or I don't know. But yeah, let's just do that. I'm going to tell you a couple stories tonight. And they are going to be about this sort of very strange need, it seems, that we have as humans to improve. And then this wacky bunch of products that we created, started in the 1980s, that promised to help us do just that. So, to get things started here, I want to introduce you to this guy.
Chad Helmstetter, and I'm glad to be with you.
Okay, well, you mind if I just jump in with some questions for you?
Please do.
Okay. This is Chad. He grew up in Minnesota. Today he lives in Florida, and often you can find him in a suit. As you'll hear, he speaks in this soft, gentle, grandfatherly way. And I called him up because of this life-changing experience he had back in 1981.
I was in a store in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Very possibly a Kmart.
Kmart offers gift certificates to make your shopping more enjoyable.
You know, the site of many a revelatory experience. Anyhow, he's walking up and down the aisles.
And I saw Sony's first blue and silver Walkman.
It was the Sony TPSL2. And while it may just look like sort of a, I don't know, pulp fiction book today, this was unlike anything Chad had ever seen before. The dude had never even worn headphones in public before. And so, a little bit sheepishly, there was a display model out. He picked it up.
I put the earphones in.
He pressed play.
And it was absolutely breathtaking and inspiring. I thought it was magic.
Chad was transported. He was transformed. And he was not alone.
Tuning out and tuning in. About 750,000 people nationwide are doing just that.
I turn it up loud enough so I can drown out the sounds.
It just puts you in your own world all by yourself.
Where this Walkman device went, these sort of strange proto-psychedelic experiences seemed to follow.
I remember vividly that walking or roller skating or dancing, there was this kind of disconnect from my normal everyday experience.
That is Juliet Christensen. She is a design researcher at the University of London. She has dug deep into the Walkman, the iPod. Most recently, she's really interested in slime for some unknown reason. But staying on the Walkman for now.
So why was this such a big deal?
Why was the Walkman such a big deal?
Yeah.
Because you could choose your own music.
She thinks I'm an idiot.
I mean, it's simple as that. You could choose the sound that you wanted to listen to. With a radio, it's a broadcast medium. So you're already tuned in to what someone else is choosing for you. And now suddenly you can choose your own soundscape. And you have these cassettes that you can swap with your friends. Even the idea of like a mixtape.
She says that the Walkman, it made music private and mobile and intimate in a way that it just never had been before. And that sort of trio of characteristics, it made listening to music a wholly new experience. She says the first time that she put headphones on listening to a Walkman, it felt like...
Suddenly I'm in this film. Right? And I'm the star, and I'm Gene Kelly tap dancing through the streets, or something like that. And it brings a kind of lightness to my engagement with the world, which can be kind of joyful, but radically alters my understanding of society and culture, I think, and my engagement with the environment that I'm in.
She said it sort of removed her from her surroundings. She said it was almost like before she'd listened to the Walkman, her entire life had been a documentary where her eyes were the camera capturing what was going on around her. And then suddenly she put those headphones on and life became this blockbuster film. To see what she means by that, I want to try a little bit something with you all. We're going to watch a really short video clip up on the screen here. And for added effect, we're going to play the soundtrack through your headphones. So now would be a good time to take those headphones that Lance did a lovely job explaining to you how to use. Put those things on if you would. Okay, you can take your headphones off. Okay, somebody want to tell me what they experienced watching that thing? Anybody, raise your hand and I'll shout you out. Anybody, what were you experiencing emotionally while that was going on? Okay.
I felt old.
You felt old. Okay. What emotionally, other than just feeling old, emotionally, what did you have going on?
I felt very serene, actually.
Serene. Okay. Anybody that people relate to that? Anybody not relate to feeling serene? Okay, right there in the velvet.
Sure. A sense of foreboding.
Okay, so we've got serene and foreboding. Anybody not relate to either of those? Okay, over here, Lance will run to you. What on earth were you experiencing?
Teenage ennui.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, well, as you may have figured out here, we were pumping different sounds into each of your ears. So you were all meant, and what we did, we curated, we crafted very specific soundtracks with the hope of evoking very specific emotions. Seems like it kind of worked. I will say teenage ennui was not one of the emotions we were going for, but we'll take it. Anyhow, why the hell did we do this? Well, we did this because, well, today listening to something on your own while you're sitting together is like this numbingly common experience. It's really weird. Like, for the entirety of human history, things have been watched and listened to together, like you all right now. And what the Walkman did was it came in and it blew that to pieces. Here you all were in the same room, receiving the same visual information, and yet having maybe wildly different experiences. And to me, that is really the legacy of this device, of the Walkman. It redefined what the word together meant. And its power came in large part because it came out right at the time that there was a politician who was trying to do the exact same thing. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, from this state of California, Ronald freaking Reagan. You're going to have to stick with me for a moment here. I promise this guy is like monumental to this little story of ours. Reagan, like all modern presidents, had great sway over the national conversation. And what Reagan wanted to talk about was, yes, that government was bad, but also that the individual men and women of this country were great. I mean, here he is in his 1981 presidential inauguration address.
If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land, we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth.
What Reagan really did was he put the individual front and center. And according to Juliet Christensen, at least, this more than anything came to define the decade, the 1980s, and that laid the foundation for what we're here to talk about tonight.
If you think about it, the 1980s is all about the individual and the self. Like, take care of yourself, be the best version that you can be. It's all about you and you. And you. And it's still something that we're dealing with today, I think.
There are no constraints on the human mind, no walls around the human spirit, no barriers to our progress except those we ourselves erect.
So, to get back to Shad, our Kmart walker from the beginning of the show.
I recognized then that Sony would sell millions of them and others, and the market.
Shad was some grounding. Shad believed in the power of repetition.
Repetition is learning.
Back in the 1960s, he was in the Navy, and he had been told to learn Spanish and do it fast.
When you're in the military and you're told to do something, you tend to do it. And so I became reasonably fluent in a fairly short period of time.
And the way he did this was by listening to Spanish language tapes on a big open reel-to-reel tape player over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
And that notion stuck. And I thought, well, if you can learn a whole new language by listening to it repeatedly,
why couldn't you learn a whole new way to think in some other way using the exact same technique?
To be more confident, for instance. And when I held that Sony Walkman in my hand, I remember thinking we now had a device that could deliver it to people.
And so what did Shad start doing? Well, he started to make some rather strange recordings. He titled these things Self-Talk, and we've got one queued up for you. And if you would, again, please take these headphones, put them on, and let's listen to what our inspired Shad came up with.
You are incredible. That's right, you. You have a lot going for you. You always did. And now it's time to let yourself live out the incredible potential that you were born with. You've had it all the time. You were born to be an exceptional human being. And each day you give yourself the winning words of self-talk that say, I like myself. I'm glad to be me. I like myself. I'm glad to be me. I like myself. I'm glad to be me.
All right, headphones off. Anybody feeling more confident after that? Anybody feeling a little cringy after that? Whether it made you confident or cringe, what is not debatable is that Shad's timing making this thing was impeccable.
I worked for the company back in the records days, and it was going nowhere.
This is Vic Conant. For years, he'd been trying to sell messages just like Shad's on vinyl records with absolutely no success.
Kind of had to shut down parts of the business to keep it surviving.
But suddenly, with Reagan, the Walkman, and the exact same message now printed onto magnetic tape,
the business took off. All of a sudden, we were selling millions of these cassettes every month.
Like a record exec, Vic went out and signed folks like Shad and published their material.
At one time, we had like 3 different studios, and authors would fly in.
And well, at the beginning of this self-help boom, he says, the were Reagan-esque and motivational, saying things like,
you can be and have all that you want in life.
Playing this tape over and over again, you will develop your unlimited potential.
As time went on, customers demanded more and more specific products, like how to improve their memory.
I'd like to personally welcome everyone to the Mega Memory Program.
Or how to be better at business.
The unspoken strategies for gaining power and getting ahead.
Welcome to How to Deliver Unpopular Messages, an instructional tape from American Management Association.
And then eventually things got just very, very weird.
You're getting much, much closer now. Much, much closer, and you see yourself moving towards the light at the end. Number 3, you're getting very, very close now. Number 2, on the next count, you will step through the door into the past, and you will see yourself at the age of 15 in another time and another place. Number 1.
That was a self-help guru by the name of Dick Sutphin, and Dick's entire thing was that whatever the problem you have plaguing you today is the result of something that happened in a previous life. And so the only way that you could free yourself from your past life trauma was for him to hypnotize you and let you relive the experience. Pretty out there stuff. However, the timing of the success of all this stuff bears out what is one of my favorite ideas. It's a Marshall McLuhan idea that the medium is the message. And it's the idea that there was something about the cassette tape. There was something about its intimacy. There was something about its mobility that allowed this intimate, personal message to pop. And I think no one took fuller advantage of that than this guy, Lloyd Glauberman. You know Lloyd?
Oh, yeah, and Lloyd was great. He had a very unique way of self-improvement. To this day, I've never heard anybody else do this. He would tell 2 stories at once.
He called it hypno-peripheral processing. It's maybe the strangest self-help concept I've come across, and you're definitely going to have to put your headphones back on to experience this one.
As the group met was similar in the large auditorium. Man they had experienced before. Idea he was exactly in a theater. What was in store? Watching for them a movie. For the information and secure that they had. But the movie was sketchy. did not have a plot line. All they knew that he could understand was that they were, and as hard as he tried to begin, he was stuck.
I mean, what the hell is going on there, right? Like, you've got like two fairy tales going on at the same time, but if you try to focus on one, you lose the other.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the trick, how the trick is done right now. I'm going to expose the contents of this idea, which, by the way, the first time it happened, it was an accident.
He's not a salesman, clearly. That was Lloyd in real life. I sat down with him a couple years back, and he told me that his tapes, they're almost like those trick images that you have to like cross your eyes to see what's there. In his tapes, if you want to hear the subliminal hypnotic message he is imparting to you, what you have to do is listen to what's being said between the two stories. So, for example, if in the right ear he says
the word feel,
in the left ear, what often follows is
the word better. Okay. So the listener at that moment in time, the only thing that's actually available for that split 2 seconds is feel better. As if I were giving you a direct suggestion to feel better.
To finish this first section off, I think it's time that I have to confront the elephant in the room, which is, does any of this stuff work? Does listening to stereoscopic sound where you're being given hypnotic messages actually work? I don't know. I also don't really care. Like, I have listened to dozens, if not hundreds, of these tapes over the past 3 or 4 years. And at their heart of all of them really is a pretty simple message, that if you want to improve, the first step is to believe that you can do it. Now, that advice rings trite. It might ring a little less trite here in California than in New York, but I think it still rings trite, especially in this rather pessimistic moment we find ourselves living in. And I think maybe that's why I actually really like these tapes, especially right now. They're a reminder to me of what I said at the top, that we humans have this strange desire and ability to improve. And we have this capacity to believe that the best is yet to come.
If we just believe the best is yet to come.
Okay, for our next act here, to sort of expand on these ideas, to bring some intellectual heft to them, I'm really excited to invite to the stage Tara Isabella Burton. Put your hands together for you, if you would, please. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, I'm very excited to have Tara here for a number of reasons. First and foremost, because I've just made what I think is a relatively simple argument that Ronald Reagan and the Walkman came together and created self-help. And I think you're here to tell me I'm totally wrong.
I am not here to tell you that you're totally and completely wrong.
Okay, good. Partially?
So I think your narrative is compelling. I think it's right. I also think it's a bit time limited. I think a lot of the tendencies and the trends that you're discussing are actually part of a much older and much weirder tradition of self-help and manifesting and energy and vibes in American life.
Okay. Well, let's dive into it, shall we? Our story here started in 1979, 1981, thereabouts. Where does your story start here?
Well, let's start with the 19th century for today, to keep it simple.
Okay. Actually, sorry, I have a more important question. Why should we believe you? Who are you? Like, I just told a nice story, but who are you and why are we going to believe your story over mine?
So I study and write about the intersection of religion, self-help, wellness, self-making, and vibes in American culture from the 19th century onward. My forthcoming book, Self-Made, Creating Our Identities from Da Vinci to the Kardashians, deals in part with the American self-help tradition and its relationship to capitalism and wellness.
Okay, so I guess we have to take your word for a lot of this. Okay, so you were about to say, we're starting in the 1800s here?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about the 1800s and what was self-help in the 1800s?
So in the second half of the 19th century, what you might call the first wellness movement in America started, and it was something called New Thought, or even cooler sounding, the Mind Cure.
Ooh, pretty good. Yeah. Okay, good branding. Yeah. Okay, who is our man or woman that started the Mind Cure?
So New Thought, the Mind Cure, can be said to be founded in the 1860s by a watchmaker, clockmaker, and a faith healer named Phineas Quimby.
Phineas Quimby. And maybe a faith healing? What is faith healing?
Attempt to cure illness outside of, shall we say, traditionally understood medical practice.
Okay. Like, I'm putting my hands over you now. And
Sure, or hypnotism, mesmerism, as it was often called after Franz Mesmer, who practiced this. And Phineas Quimby was a faith healer. But the problem was he was not a very good faith healer, which is to say, sometimes people got better. And sometimes they didn't.
Sure.
And he racked his brains and he's like, why could this possibly be happening to me? Could it be that this does not work? No, he decided. It's because the patients just don't want to get better. Some people must just have bad vibes, bad energy, bad thoughts, negative thinking, and that is why they stay sick while other patients get cured. And he started lecturing on this, got a lot of adherents, admirers. One of them was Mary Baker Eddy, founder of the Christian Science movement, a sort of amalgam of New Thought and Christianity. And then this sort of spread and developed through many self-help books and other New Thought practitioners into a kind of mass cult, essentially. Everybody was doing it. William James, talking about the Mind Cure, says that in Massachusetts, you couldn't even talk about feeling sick or having a cold because everyone would go, no, don't say it. You're gonna make us all sick. Negative vibes. We can't have that.
This sounds a little bit like what we call blaming the victim today. Someone catches a cold and they don't get better and it's their fault. Is that what's going on here?
Absolutely. And this kind of blaming the victim, the idea that it was about the individual's internal psychological state and wanting it badly enough and trying hard enough only got more intense as time went on, particularly when we moved towards the end of the 19th century, what we know as sort of the Gilded Age, when this became less and less about health and more about wealth, making money.
Got it. Okay, well, maybe now is a good time to clarify the point that you see self-help not as just some consumer boom from the 1980s, but if not a religion, sort of a proto-religion, right? Do I have that right?
Absolutely. And one of the things about New Thought is it was not just self-help. It was kind of occultism, you can say, or spirituality, but it was rooted in a very specific and I would say kind of distinctly American at that time understanding of the world, which is not that there's sort of God out there giving you laws, although many people like Mary Baker Eddy sort of held this kind of in tandem with Christianity, but it was this idea that there's sort of energy all around you in the universe, and it's sort of quasi-vibesy, but also quasi-scientific. You find people talking about it with the language of magnetism or with then new and exciting electricity. These are currents. And if you can get into the currents of your brain and kind of hack yourself, you can get in touch with or somehow control those vibes, that energy out there in the universe. And
this sounds incredibly contemporary, by the way, especially hacking yourself. That seems to be what this city is known for, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's something that we talk about without thinking a lot now. I mean, I was at a Soul Cycle class a couple of years ago, and there's a sort of constant narrative and advertising about energy. Don't suck energy from someone else. Keep the energy in the room going. And of course, you can say, well, that's just a metaphor. But it's also rooted, I think, in this distinctly American New Thought tradition that all around you, the universe just has this energy that's floating that you can harness, you can control, and that by harnessing it, your life outcomes will change. The most new thoughty thing in the contemporary world is something like the law of attraction, secret, manifesting, all the same logic, all a lot of the same kind of metaphysical skeleton.
Okay, well, so if this doesn't go back to the 80s, if this goes back, you're saying hundreds of years, what about our man Ronald Reagan? Are you going to at least give me that this guy had something to do with this?
You're not totally wrong.
About as good as I'm going to do tonight, I think.
Which is to say, I think the kind of Reagan-era conservatism is part of the story, but also part of the story is a couple decades prior is the counterculture movement, the hippies, you could call them, which is to say that in that sort of era, there was a real renewed and revived interest in ideas of authenticity and looking inwards and being true to oneself and kind of exploring spirituality that reflected some of those assumptions. Anti-authoritarian, anti-institutional, and more in touch with religion and feeling and the internal state. And that, I think, is a huge influence where downstream of that, we see a broader cultural interest in looking within in order to attain what we think we truly want.
Just to clarify, so you're saying that it's not Reagan's fault, it's California hippies' fault.
I'm not blaming the hippies, but I will say that the very particular, and I would say uniquely American combination of, let's say, 60s counterculture itself, a kind of manifestation of an American tradition of inwardness, linked up with the tradition of American capitalism, which from the Gilded Age onwards wanted to find narratives that said, if you're poor, it's because it's your fault. You're not trying hard enough. That narrative's always been there. And I think the combination of that capitalist narrative with the narrative of authenticity kind of created the worst possible cultural Frankenstein.
Okay. Well, let's go to what I think is the final leg of my argument here, which is that the cassette, the Walkman, that, as Marshall McLuhan said, the medium is the message. Are you going to give me that one, that the cassette was central to this, that it was intimate, it was personal in a way that media hadn't been before?
In part.
Okay.
So I absolutely agree with you. I think there is something, the medium is indeed the message, and there is something so novel and transformative about private media devices that let us have our own reactions. But those are some of the same arguments that we can make about the printed book. One of my sort of favorite subfields of history is so many scholars and historians have written about this, the relationship between the Protestant Reformation and the printed word. The idea that as the printing press became a thing, as literacy became wider and wider spread, more and more people can have a direct and unmediated relationship with the text without the need for a priest or a community or sort of external strictures to tell them what to think, as it were. And I think that relationship between the private and media that allows us to become more private and less communal has historically often been linked with a tendency, culturally speaking, to look inwards. So maybe you could say we could blame the Protestants.
Okay. As someone who is raised Catholic, I'm okay with that. Okay, and then I guess where we have left to go here is like, where are we headed here? Like, okay, our story, we've sort of gone backwards in time. You've laid out beautifully that this goes back literally centuries. Where is this headed? Where do you see this with all of your historical understanding going?
Well, one of the things that is quite distinct about the Walkman and the book is not just that they're private, but that they're one way. You receive information and you do so in a private way, but there's the author, there's the speaker, there's the voice of God in your ear, and it's you. And now we have the internet.
Yes.
And what to me is so fascinating about the internet, and the way in which our sort of cultural self-understanding already, and even in my own lifetime, has shifted, is that I think more and more of us are accustomed to being not just content consumers, but creators. We reimagine our digital landscapes in accordance of what we want, and we contribute to them. We post, we tweet, we like, we see things that we like because of the way that algorithms work. And so I think more and more of us are kind of remixing and reimagining our own spiritual and internal lives in accordance with what we want or what we think of as our authentic desires. Often as, for example, conventional, traditional organized religion is in decline. Now only about a quarter of Americans say they don't belong to any religion at all. That goes up to 36% among younger millennials and Zoomers. More and more people are basically making their own religion, making their own spirituality, and often drawing upon this kind of internal tradition. But that internal tradition of desire and authenticity and trying to kind of manifest when connected to the internet where we are creators. The future of self-help, I think, might be that we are our own gurus, or that we create our own self-help manifestos and ideology by mixing and matching from a lot of these other sources. I think we are not just content to listen to other people tell us how to make our lives better anymore. For better and for worse, we are sort of taking control of that narrative.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tara Isabella Burton. Thank you so much. Okay, to close this thing out, I've got one more story for you all, and it is a story of maybe the coolest self-help tape to ever have existed. Yeah, I'll just use that as the tease. Okay. Okay. This is a story that was originally told to me by the guy you heard cracking a beer there, Zach Taylor. He is a documentary maker and a fellow fan of cassette tapes.
I shot and directed a documentary called Cassette, a documentary mixtape.
How many cassette tapes do you think you have?
Oh my gosh. I probably have a couple thousand.
I only have a couple hundred, so he's got me beat. Anyhow, the story starts in the summer of 1969 with three guys you've definitely heard of: Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and Michael Collins. And as you know, these guys were preparing to go to the moon. But what you might not know is that along with all of the gear that these guys took with them, they were each gifted a thing that no man had ever owned or held before.
The name of this thing was the TC50. It looked like a sleek, elegant, minimalist aluminum brick.
And what it was, basically, was just a Walkman. 10 years before Sony put out the consumer model, they built this thing specifically for these astronauts to take up to space with them. It's a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger, but it's, for all intents and purposes, the exact same thing. Now, on a spaceship where every ounce counts, you might be wondering,
Why did they allow them to bring these things?
Oh, I mean, the more I think about it, the more mission critical this thing is, because you are...
mission critical?
Yeah, yes, mission critical.
As Zach explained, the idea was that this TC50, it actually, unlike the later Walkman, it has a record button. And so...
This is a replacement for pen and paper. It's your audio journal, because the gloves that these guys used is not conducive to taking a pen and putting it to paper and jotting down your thoughts.
And so, July 16th, 1969, after lifting off with those bulky gloves and Walkman in hand.
These three astronauts had about a 3 days journey to get to the moon, or to get to the moon's orbit.
And as they are being flung through space, the folks down at NASA who were recording and watching everything, they could hear these guys using the Walkmans, but not as recorders.
This is Apollo control at 59 hours, 9 minutes. Apollo 11 now 182,000 nautical miles from Earth, and a velocity down 3,072 feet per second. The intermittent music that we're getting is apparently coming from the spacecraft. The crew has on board portable tape recorders with music on the tapes.
Yeah, each astronaut had been given a personalized mixtape with music on it that they brought up to space.
And apparently the music is triggering the Vox-operated microphones, and we're getting intermittent music down from the spacecraft.
Now, NASA did co-sign on this. The thought was generally, we got to send them up with some tapes to record onto. Might as well fill them with music first.
NASA had a mixtape guy. Mickey Capp, the record executive, would go ask each astronaut, hey, what's your favorite song? Okay, thank you. Hold my beer. I'll come back with a mixtape for you.
And as Zach there tells it, the music these guys requested and brought up there with them, it offers a small little peek into their personality. So, for example, the straight-laced, square mission commander Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong's cassette has this kooky album from the 40s on it.
That's an old favorite of mine. It's an album made about 20 years ago called Music Out of the Moon.
It was a little hard to hear, but yes, Neil Armstrong went to the moon with an album called Music Out of the Moon. And these songs, basically what they are, is they are an entire orchestra accompanying that sounding theremin.
Neil Armstrong, like that was his jam.
And in fact, Neil played this stuff so much on that spacecraft that there were times that NASA would call up and say, hey, Neil.
Oh, well, we appreciate you turning that off.
Can you turn that music off, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's Neil. Buzz, the big-talking space cowboy of the three, he filled his cassette with, well, lots of Americana, country music.
Galveston, oh Galveston, I still hear your sea waves crashing.
Like Glenn Campbell's Galveston there, and another hit, Mother Country by Jon Stewart.
Oh, Mother Country, I do love you.
And then most famously, and of questionable veracity, Buzz picked a specific song. He requested it so that the moment that they landed down on the moon, him and Neil, what he was able to do was...
Buzz Aldrin reaches behind him, behind a seat, pulls out his TC-50, his proto-Walkman, presses play to...
Fly me to the moon.
Let me
do among the stars.
Are you serious?
That's the legend. That's the legend. That's how the story goes.
Now, Buzz told this story multiple times, but years later, after he sobered up, he said, maybe that didn't happen.
But listen, if a whole building of rocket scientists can believe enough to send these three young men out into space, then I am going to exercise this little, faith the size of a mustard seed, because what an amazing moment.
Now, this moment and these cassette tapes generally are the sort of strange, forgotten, maybe sort of invented bits of history that folks like me and Zach can't get enough of. And I think that's sort of all they would be were it not for the third astronaut on the trip, a guy by the name of Michael Collins. Now, it turns out that Michael Collins' playlist, his cassette, has been totally lost to time. I reached out to NASA's archives. I reached out to the National Archives. I reached out to the Smithsonian. No one has any idea where this cassette tape is or just about anything that was ever on it, which is oddly sort of fitting, I think.
Michael Collins is the one guy nobody knows. The third wheel. He's just the guy who, like, you know, in history, like, they couldn't have done it without him. Like, they really needed him. What did they need him for? But Michael Collins was the linchpin in all this stuff. Michael Collins was the one who made sure that they, first of all, got to the moon, and more importantly, made sure that they got home.
So, to pick the story up, July 20th, 4 days into the mission, at around 11 a.m. here in San Francisco, it was time for Buzz and Neil to actually go down to the moon. And what that meant was these two guys, they had to crawl into a far corner of the spacecraft, buckle themselves in, and then detach themselves from Michael Collins. And what this meant was that the whole time that they were down there on the moon, in the lunar landing module, the Eagle, as they called it, Michael Collins would be way up there, all by himself, just waiting.
Michael Collins had 21 and a half hours, almost a full day, where it's just him alone orbiting the moon from about 60 miles above.
Sort of crazier still, half the time he's up there, he is in total darkness. Because every 48 minutes, he passed behind the dark side of the moon, meaning no light and no contact.
Yes, half the time the moon itself is shielding him from communication with Houston, with the Earth, even with the two dudes that are down there on the moon.
Apollo 11, this is Houston. All your systems are looking good going around the corner. We'll see you on the other side. Over. Roger. This is Apollo Control. We've had lots of signal now. We'll reacquire the spacecraft again on the 13th revolution in about 45 minutes.
Michael Collins did this 23 times in total, 23 times for 48 minutes at a time. All he had was his heartbeat, his thoughts, and the darkness. And all the while he's sitting up there, he knows that the hardest and riskiest part of the mission is actually still yet to come. Because before they can go home, obviously, Buzz and Neil need to get off of the moon. But they're going to have to do it at just the right time so that they can get into the moon's orbit at just the right spot so that Michael Collins can come and grab them. And as if that wasn't enough,
there was no way to test the engines on the Eagle taking off from the moon. There was no way to test it. It was completely untested. It was an unknown.
Yeah, we just didn't understand sort of how the chemicals from the liftoff would interact with the dust particles on the moon. So yeah, we just didn't really know.
So what happens if, you know, the engine doesn't have quite enough gas to get them back to the orbiter? Or what if they overshoot it? And privately, the three astronauts gave themselves about a 50-50 chance of getting off the moon. So Michael Collins is orbiting all by himself, wondering if he's going to return to Earth alone or as part of a 3-person crew successfully having visited the moon.
This is Apollo Control. Collins has gone behind the moon on the 23rd lunar revolution. While he waits for his comrades to rejoin him for the trip back to Earth.
I mean, here is how alone this guy was.
When Neil gave his famous thing, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, Michael Collins didn't hear any of that. He was already on the dark side of the moon.
So in this moment that literally the entire Earth is experiencing something together, he remains alone, disconnected and out of touch from all of it.
Exactly. So, oh my gosh, this is what I keep going back to. This is where having a Walkman, having this hunk of aluminum with the record button, this is where this suddenly becomes, as I said, mission critical.
Because while Collins was up there, literally the most solitary man in the history of the universe, to either calm his nerve or get the voices out of his head, he turned to a cassette tape. He pulled out his TC-50 and he hit record.
And said, my secret terror for the last 6 months has been leaving them on the moon and returning to Earth alone. Now I am within minutes of finding out the truth of the matter. Dude, if you're alone, if you're on the dark side of the moon and all you have is a Walkman, how is that cassette not your very best friend? The closest thing you have to another human being, a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on. I think that cassette is a life raft.
Now, of course, Buzz and Neil did make it off the moon. Collins was able to grab them and get them back home. But what I think is so striking about those words that he chose to record, that he chose to say out loud for a moment, is that he acknowledged they might not make it home. Throughout this mission, doubt was just not really a feeling that was allowed in the room. I mean, I've listened to dozens of hours from this mission, and both the crew and the folks at Mission Control, they sound convinced that this mission was going to be a success. Now, were they deluding themselves? Were they just telling themselves this is going to be a success? Were they just telling themselves, I like myself, I'm glad to be me? Yeah, probably. But if they hadn't taken that first step to convince themselves, I'm not sure that Neil ever would have taken his first step.
Where the blue of the night meets the gold of the day, someone waits for me.
That is our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. A couple of quick thank yous. Sarah Rose Leonard and Lance Gardner for producing this event and making the whole thing possible. To Danny, Neil, Mike, and Jim back there in the booth, making sure that you're hearing everything and seeing everything. Then back in New York, Soren Wheeler, my editor, for his editorial guidance. Alex Overington, my friend and collaborator, for the music he contributed. Once more for Tara Isabella Burton for bringing some intellectual heft to this thing. Check out her books, you won't be disappointed. Special thanks to Zach Taylor for his help with Act 3. Check out his documentary, Cassette, a documentary mixtape, if you were at all interested in this stuff. And to my wife, Barbara, for everything. Thank you all, and have a good night.
Waits for me.